Hi, my name is Beth and I'm a sewing pattern designer and blogger at Sew DIY. Today I'm continuing my sew along for my latest pattern, the Jodi knit pants. These pants feature a sophisticated wide leg and a 2-inch elastic waistband. Plus they have angled front pockets. Last week we sewed the pockets and assembled the pant, and today I'm going to show you how to assemble the waistband, attach it to the pant legs, and then hem the pants. This pattern goes up to a 62-inch hip, and I will put a link to it down in the show notes. All right, let's get started. We have two waistband pieces. We have the front waistband and the back waistband. So one important thing to note, if you want to have a tie at the waistband, I have a buttonhole placement right here. And it might be a good idea to use a scrap of interfacing where you're going to put the buttonholes. And it's also a good idea to use a interfacing that has some stretch to it. And this will help stabilize the buttonholes when you stitch them and prevent that fabric from stretching. If you're going to have a waist tie, you'll want some sort of cording, or I really like a all natural cotton twill tape. And this is kind of a cross between the two. I really like this one. And then if you're going to do buttonholes, you'll need some sort of buttonhole foot. And I have a button here that's about a 1/2 inch button, and it makes a 3/4 inch buttonhole. When I sew the buttonholes, I also like to use a scrap of tracing paper or tissue paper underneath the fabric, and that helps stabilize it more. And then for top stitching, you may want to use a twin needle. And I also have some woolly nylon in the bobbin that I like to use with the twin needle, and I have posts about that, and I will also link to my twin needle tips. Some people like to use a wash away wonder tape when they sew hems, so that's also a good idea. Obviously thread for our stitching, and we need to have elastic for the waistband. This is a soft waistband elastic, which I really like. It's pretty thin, has good stretch, and it's just really comfortable to wear. Here's an unpackaged bit. It's very soft, has good stretch. So I like this one, but you can use whatever you prefer. Let's get started sewing. First, I'm going to sew the buttonholes on the front of my front waistband using the markings from the pattern piece. I fused a little bit of stretch knit interfacing onto the back, and I did do some experiments with different buttonholes, and I did an experiment without the interfacing, and it really did stretch the fabric a bit. So it looks more like a square buttonhole when you use the interfacing, in my experience. So I am going to be doing a stretch buttonhole stitch, and I recommend looking in your machine manual to see if it has one. A regular button stitch probably would also work. Just test it out first. And this machine uses a one-step buttonhole, which I also have a video about. I made a marking for the bottom center of my buttonhole, and I got my needle right in place. My fabric is aligned, and I'm just going to stitch. Okay, and there's the buttonholes. From the back side, I will just rip off the tracing paper. All right, here I have my front and back waistband pinned together at the side seams, and I'm going to stitch with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to use my conventional machine and press open, but you can also use a serger. Okay, now we can press our waistband and get it ready for attaching to the pants. Okay, now I'm ready to pin the waistband to the pants. And there are notches on the pattern that you can use to make sure you get everything pinned to the right place. And I have marked those notches with pins so that you can see them better. So the red notches are in the front waistband, and they were on the pocket pieces and the front pant. I've also put pins for the center front and center back. Those are the blue ones. And then we have the seam to match to in the pants. And then the waistband has a seam at each of the side seams that will match with the side seams for the pants. So all you want to do is match all of those points and pin it together, raw edges together, and make sure you have the right side of the front waistband matching the right side of the front pant. So get these red pins, these notches matching. Let's see. And then here I try to press my waistband seam to the front, and then I'm pressing the side seam to the back. So I can kind of nest this together and reduce the bulk. So you will just pin this all the way around. And then when we stitch, we want to leave about a 3-inch opening at the center back. And I will usually place 2 pins at the stop and the end just as a visual reminder to start and stop stitching. So I will go ahead and place those there. Okay, again, I am stitching with a lightning stitch at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and just making sure to leave that opening in the back so we can insert the elastic. Okay, so now you can insert the elastic and try them on to make sure you like the fit. Here I've cut a piece of elastic a little bit longer than I need for my waist, and I'm going to insert it into our waistband casing. On this end, I have a safety pin to make it easier to hold on to. And it's just a bunch of push and pull to get it through. And you just want to make sure that you don't accidentally pull the other end into the casing, and try not to twist it. After you have that end through the other side, double check that nothing is twisted, and then you want to overlap the ends and pin them together. And then you can kind of shake the elastic back in here and try these pants on. And then if you don't like how tight or loose the elastic is, you can adjust that overlap. And just keep adjusting until you get the fit that you like. Okay, I have my elastic overlapped to the right length, and I'm going to do a zigzag in a box shape with an X to secure the 2 ends together. Now you just pull the elastic inside the casing, do another check that there are no twists, and then we can stitch this opening closed. Okay, I have the opening pinned, and I'm just going to stitch it closed, being careful not to stitch any unwanted wrinkles. Next, I'm going to finish the edge with my serger. To make the hem, try the pants on and then turn them up to your desired length. And then I like to use a ruler and just check that I have it folded the same amount all the way around and give it a good press. And you might want to put a few pins in place just to hold it. Okay, I'm ready to hem my pants. I ironed a little steam seam to hold my hem in place, and that will just wash away later. And then for stitching, I'm using a twin needle, and I have a woolly nylon thread in the bobbin, which is stretchy and which will help. And I have a whole blog post video about using a twin needle, so I will link to that for more information. All right, and then I have my pants inside out, and I'm just going to stitch around with the top side up. And I'm using a straight stitch with a 3.0 length. Then you'll want to pull all these threads to the wrong side and tie them off. Well, I hope that you found this video helpful. I'll have links down in the show notes to the rest of the sew along as well as the pattern. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all my future videos. Happy sewing!